Hi, everybody, and welcome to ZTV Live. I'm Susan Mulligan Fleischman, and today is Tuesday, September 22nd. And tonight, it's Reading, Writing, and Ralph with Ralph Peluso. And Ralph's guest is Nancy Bauer. I'm holding this glass of wine because Nancy wrote a wonderful travel book of Virginia wineries, and it's called the Virginia Wine Travel Journal. And she will be our guest tonight. And we're really looking forward to this. The weather is getting colder. Happy first day of fall, by the way. And it's really a beautiful time to kind of put on your favorite boots and sweater and get in the car and go visit some wineries because the colors are beautiful. It's just a wonderful time to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Ralph Peluso up on the screen. Hey, Ralph. Welcome to ZTV Live.
Hey, Susan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm just sitting out here and looking over this winery and the vineyard, and going to run the show from right here in Charlottesville. Believe it
Well,
or
that's
not.
great. The ZTV Live equipment is, travels everywhere, and you look
Travels
great
everywhere.
there. And that's
Thank
nice
you.
that the sun will be on you the whole time. That's great.
Absolutely, that sun's not going to move an inch. Well, Nancy Bauer, she has an interesting background, and as you said, she wrote a fabulous travel journal about the wineries in Virginia, and I was surprised, number one, how many wineries there are, and some of the stories that go along with these wines are just fabulous. So it should be a very interesting show. I
Terrific.
hope our guests from all over the country chime in to realize that Virginia is such a great state for wines, and it's really coming up. So with
It,
that,
it, it
let's
is.
bring Nancy on.
That's right. Well, here she is. Hi, Nancy Bauer.
Hi,
Welcome,
hi, hi,
welcome to
hi.
ZTV Live.
Hi. Thank
Hi. Well,
you.
everybody's got their wine. See,
That's
We
right.
there is.
do. We have
Yeah.
to. That's right. I'm thrilled to be here, and I actually, I love what you guys are doing because it's the positivity is so needed and so appreciated. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for reviewing my book earlier too. Yeah, nothing more fun than Virginia wine country for sure.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you and Ralph take it away from here. But I do want to remind the audience to please let us know if you have any questions. Please add a hello or add any questions in the comments. And remember, Ralph always has awesome trivia questions. So please be at the ready to answer those questions, and you might win a copy of Virginia's book. So Ralph, I'm gonna let
Thank
you
you.
take it over.
Thank you. And we have several giveaways for tonight. And so we'll try to get in as many trivia questions as possible. So we're going to open with a trivia question. And it's kind of a tricky question. Um, and it is, how many presidents have had vineyards um, in Virginia? So, and the first answer in, as soon as you get it, Susan, let us know.
I will.
And Nancy, we always like
Ralph.
to we always like to have our authors give their background to the viewers so that they get to know you a little more personally. So tell us about your background, um, and how you
Yeah.
got into being an author.
I will do that. I will do all of that. First, though, I would like to give my little shout out. This is what I'm drinking tonight. This is Keswick Vineyards V2. Keswick is down around Charlottesville. This is a really fabulous wine. So my background has nothing to do with wine except for one job that I had in college when I was waiting tables, and they brought in a distributor, the wine distributor, to lead a little tasting for us for all the wait staff, and that was my epiphany. I think that wine wasn't just Boone's Farm Tickle Pink. There was something to it. Yeah, right. And on my way home that night, I stopped at a liquor store, and the winery guy, he said, let me recommend something, and he recommended a Puy Fouisse. And I took that home, and I thought, oh, okay, all right, well, there's something here. So that was, my background has nothing to do with this, but that's how I got involved.
Wow. Well, growing up in the Bronx, we thought that Thunderbird was a step up in grade from Andy Boone's. So To all my friends out there, yes, we spent,
We have a winner.
and I think we have a winner on the first question
Oh,
already.
yay.
So,
We do
Susan,
have a winner, and hold on one second. Okay, we do have a winner, and the winner is none other than the one and only Kelly McConomy. Came up with the right answer of two. Two presidents have owned operating vineyard or winery.
yeah, that's the right answer because, and that's a very good answer on her part. There's a little bit dispute on that, but two is the answer that we had in mind.
Sounds good.
So early on, you developed an app and a website. Tell us that process and then how you sort of morphed that into a travel guide or a travel
Yeah.
journal, I guess.
Well, I think, I was always interested in travel writing, and I was doing a little bit of travel writing here and there. And I went down to American Society of Travel Writers, was having an institute in Orlando. So I went down there with my husband, and we were able to connect with one of the first developers of travel apps. And they had it in their mind that they were going to be the Foders or the Frommers of the travel app world. So we connected with them. Did all the research and launched the app in 2011. So next year it'll be 10 years. And then a couple of years after that, we developed the website, and it's all called the same, Virginia Wine in My Pocket, which is kind of an odd name, except it made total sense when it was just an app. Virginia Wine in My Pocket. And the bigger we get and the more things we add, the less it makes sense. But there you have it. Be really careful when you pick that first name for your business. So we are Virginia Wine in My Pocket.
Well, that's good. Now you've got a full blown, and I thought your travel journal 2019 was so good that I gave it as a Christmas present to somebody that regularly, actually, it's one of my wife's sons that regularly visits wineries in Virginia, so he really enjoys it.
Good.
Jefferson, as we all know, had interest in wines. He loved the French wines, and he tried to bring that to Virginia, not very successfully. Did other presidents also dabble in the trying to establish a vineyard and grow wines, or?
Other than, the Trumps taking over the Kluge estate, I forget, maybe that was 8 years ago or something like that. I'm not aware. Yeah. Okay, yeah. It's the same year that we launched. I'm not aware of any other presidents going in that direction.
Okay. So that was a one-off for him.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions is, Jefferson failed, and Virginia wines failed for some period of time. So why all of this success in Virginia now?
Well, I think, there's certainly, it's the education, I would say. The modern wine industry started in Virginia in 1967, I think, with Farfaloo Vineyards, which was in Flint Hill, up in Northern Virginia. And then there were another 7 wineries, I think, that joined, that opened in the 1970s. And, at the beginning, Dave McIntyre with the Washington Post, he writes about wine there. He had a great statement years ago, which was, when people bought land, it was almost accidental that they put wineries or vineyards on that land. First they bought the land, and then they said, I wonder if this land can grow grapes, and so there were decades of trying to, rectify the problems that I think that caused. People just didn't know what to grow where, or, what was suitable. And so, but what we've seen now is, you've got 50 years behind us now of grape growing and knowledge. People like Jim Law at Linden Vineyards, who keeps meticulous notes and is very generous in sharing the knowledge of his growing. And now they have a much better idea of what sorts of soil types, what kind of slope is needed to grow grapes successfully in Virginia. Virginia is a hard place to grow grapes in. The humidity causes myriad problems, and then just like what's happening now, at the end of the season, there are these hurricanes that come through, the remnants of hurricanes that drop all this rain and huge thunderstorms. And you could work, all season long to get this beautiful crop, and suddenly it's wiped out because you've got 2 solid weeks of rain that dilute the grapes. So, so anyway, going back to the question, it's really, I think it's mostly knowledge that that created it, the change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's like anything else. The more we learn about things, the better we are pursuing them, I guess. So we're gonna get to the second trivia question, so we can keep our viewers on their toes. So the question is, again, the first right answer: which Virginia winery operates out of a wine cave?
I know.
I know you know. Please don't give the answer. So we'll see who's pretty good on their phones with this one. When you were doing the research for your book, and I thought it was fascinating, and I guess you started in 2010, or your app, not your book. There were approximately 150 wineries back then, and that number has just simply exploded. What do you think you've learned from that, and what takeaway can you give to the viewers? I think we lost her audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your
Yes.
audio, Nancy.
But
I think it got unplugged, maybe.
yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons that were learned from that. I think she hit the nail on the head with the previous comments that it's about the education, what they learned about the grapes, where they started establishing the wineries themselves, and they became better winemakers for it. And the number is off the charts. In Loudoun County, I think the number is probably doubled or tripled just on its own. So I don't know if we've got an answer to the trivia question yet or not.
We do. I know that Nancy is working on getting her audio back on. We do have the correct answer, and it was Maggie Malik, and Carol Miller had the correct answer. So Carol Miller, congratulations, and thank you so much for tuning in. We also have had a couple of questions from the audience that
Sure.
from Kelly McConomy, actually, that have been a very good question. One was wanting to know what Nancy's favorite Virginia Vino varietal is. And another question was, what was the first Virginia winery she visited and the most recent newly discovered one for you, which are fantastic questions. And if anybody else has questions, please let us know. And hopefully, let me see if Nancy's got her audio back on here.
No.
She's trying. Keep trying, Nancy.
I know one of her favorite places to go is Fabioli Wine Cellars, right there in Loudoun County, near Leesburg. And I'm drinking this fabulous Sangiovese from that winery, and it's delightful. It's on par with some of the Italian wines that you get with the same grapes. So it's a lot of fun. So I'll give the third trivia question. Is how many wineries are there in Virginia? And we'll take the first answer that's within 10 of the actual number. So how many wineries are currently operating in the state of Virginia today? But someone asked a question about favorites. In Nancy's travel journal, she has lists of favorite places to go for a variety of reasons, ranging from the most romantic to the best wines in certain categories to dog-friendly wineries. So, in today's world, we have to have dog-friendly places.
Yes.
And I know there are several that she likes, and I think we can pull up. You can put on the screen the most romantic, and
I actually have it. Let me turn off my other. Thank you, audience, for your patience. And there's actually the one winery that she had said was she has a categories of what the wineries are good for, specific you're especially good for. The Great for Dogs was obviously one that I think a lot of people would be interested in. It's Breaux. Is that Bro?
Bro, yeah.
Bro in Purcellville. They have a tasting room for dogs, so which is interesting to me. Mountain Cove in Livingston, and also Ingleside Vineyards in Northern Neck. So those are three Virginia wineries that are good for dogs. What was the other one?
What does she have for the other one? I mean, if I'm I'm with someone that's very special to me, and I want to take them to a super place.
Anything from me now?
There you are. She's back.
Yay, she's back. Yay.
We're talking about the most romantic, the romantic.
Yes, we were the romantic.
I think she's got.
I'm gonna let
there as well. Yeah.
I'm gonna let Nancy take over.
Yeah.
Only if you put that up, because I don't have that slide in front of me. Do you have that slide?
I do have that slide. 1 second. Yeah. And the romantic, for the romantic afternoon, the first one that you listed was Delphasi Vineyards in Faber.
Delphas, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And anybody who's on the call, I've recognized the names of the people on the call, and I know that they've been to Delphas, and it's just it's a little jewel of a winery. It's kind of, if this is the winery, this is the vineyards coming up from it. So you're sitting in this little valley, and it's spread out in front of you. It's spectacular.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then you also second and third, yeah.
Yeah, the Fabioli Cellars.
Fabioli Cellars. I think that Ralph is actually enjoying a Sangiovese from Fabioli Cellars. Yes. And what was the third one?
The third one was Upper Shirley.
Upper Shirley, yeah. Upper Shirley is kind of south of Richmond on the river there, and just a spectacular place. You can also enjoy lunch, and I don't know if they do dinner, but you can certainly have lunch there. It's just a fabulous, large, sprawling place. Yeah.
So our viewers, if you're looking to get that romantic spot, that'll be special memories for you and your favorite guy or favorite girl. Those are three to go to. Yeah. Let's get back. Do we have a winner on the?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Okay, let's.
We do have a winner. Congratulations, John Gorski guessed 300 wineries in Virginia.
Fabulous.
Close enough, John. Close enough.
That was very close. So we did.
Congratulations, John.
John got it. John and Nancy. Yeah, they're doing. Great. They're doing good. They're back on the scene. That's.
They are. They are.
They have some lovely grandchildren that they care for, and so they were on a little bit of a hiatus, but they're back with us.
Good.
So let's chat a little bit about the Virginia wine region, and I think it ranks 7th. Am I correct?
6th, depending on what you're counting. Yeah, but it's 6th. Yeah. So
how do you look at Virginia and stack them against some of the other great wine areas in the country, Napa, Sonoma, the Willamette Valley, etc.?
You said you were going to ask me this question, and I said, don't ask me this question because I don't know the answer to that. I will say I am by no means. I focus so much on Virginia for the last 10 years. I know nothing about anything else. But what I will say is, we are much smaller. Virginia has maybe 4,000 acres worth of vines. California has 1 million acres worth of vines. So we are about as boutique as you can get. Because of, certainly we will continue to grow and add acreage. I know wine growers are now very, very interested in the potential of the Shenandoah Valley because of the slope there and the sunshine you can get, and what kind of grapes we'll be able to grow there. So I think the volume will certainly continue to increase as long as there are crazy people out there who are willing to invest in it and open wineries, and it sounds like we have plenty of those left. But so the size, and then the other is, honestly, from what I understand from talking to wine growers, is Virginia is just tough. Virginia is a tough place to grow grapes. Part of it is we're still only 50 years in and we're learning. Part of it is the weather. But from what I've heard from a lot of wine makers, and I don't know if this is true or not, this is what they say. They like being in Virginia. They like the challenge of Virginia. California's definitely had its challenges over the last few years, but they tend to have a pretty long growing season. There are a lot of grapes, Cabernet Sauvignon in particular, that can do very well there, where it's a struggle to produce good Cabernet Sauvignon in Virginia. In certain areas, some people have figured it out, and there's some really good ones. I know, Early Mountain does that, and a couple others. But that's. I think you've about tapped my knowledge base there.
Well, the one thing I think you're very knowledgeable on is the cost, and Virginia wines tend to be pricier compared to the California wines and some of the other West Coast wines, and how do you see the cause for that? Is it because of the volume? Because of
It's it. It's a one-word answer, and that's volume. Well, actually, it's a two-word answer. It's volume and it's manpower. Volume is, we're just never gonna get to the point. The biggest winery in Virginia, I haven't looked into this for a while, but it's not more than 100,000 cases guaranteed per year. So the quantities that we're producing are small. The average winery makes maybe 2,500 cases a year. The cost per bottle is tremendous. And then, one of the things that's been getting in the way for years of increasing awareness of Virginia wines is the distribution, going through wholesalers. And there's just no markup available. So, that's, I think that's the biggest things. What did I say? So I said volume, and the second thing, manpower, right? And that again circles back around to weather. You have to have a absolute focus on what you're doing all season long. You need tons of people out there who are keeping an eye on those grapes all the time. And a lot of wine regions don't necessarily have that. They're more automated. We're not automated. We're all hand picking, hand everything. So yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Barboursville, one of the bigger wineries, produces in pretty good volume. I've seen some of their wines in the grocery store or the liquor store for, 12, 13. I don't think you're ever going to see a Virginia wine for under 10 though.
Yeah. Probably not. Let's move to the fourth trivia question as we go through this. So the question is, which president had the most expensive palate, meaning that they only drank the most expensive wines in the White House? And I'm going to give everybody a hint. It's not Trump. So...
He doesn't even drink.
I know, but somebody would say it's got to be Trump because. Right. So, while our viewers answer that question, tell us some interesting facts about the Virginia wineries that the general public may not know.
Let me see what I have for you.
Well, you gave me a few.
Well, what I would say, there are a couple things. The first thing is I think there's an assumption, particularly when you go into a winery and you're seeing wines that are priced at, $28, $35, $48, that somebody's getting rich. And so the first thing that I would say is nobody's getting rich, regardless of the price point of those wines. I think, another thing that people might not know is, is the beauty of the state, I guess. I think I have some, I don't know if you're able to show any of those slides, Susan, but, some of when my husband and I were driving around, on our 150 wineries in 150 days tour.
Wow.
We went to a state that we, had barely heard of before. We went to Mountain Rose Winery, which is maybe 20 miles from Kentucky, far southwest Virginia, and that's coal country. So it looks completely different than the rest of Virginia. We went to Abingdon, which is in that area as well, and I'd only heard of it as, kind of it's a name on a map, and didn't realize it was this fabulous, charming town with great dining and places to stay. And you would think, it's in the middle of nowhere, but it was such an eye-opening experience, and everywhere we went, we just kept getting that same experience of the beauty of the state and the variety of the state, from the beaches to the mountains. So I think, that may be a surprise to some people as they start to branch out and go to different wineries.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Virginia's a beautiful state. It's diverse in its terrain. I've actually been to some of those towns you've mentioned, and there's even hidden gems very close. I don't know how hidden, but like Prince Michel is a wonderful winery to visit, and they've got great dining and the like. I think you mentioned to me that there's 50 or so wineries that even have lodging, right? Which
I think a little more than 30. Yeah, Susan, did you want to? I
did. I just wanted to say thank you. We do. We have a winner. Okay. We actually have two winners. They came in fairly close together. John Gorski guessed Nixon, and then Michelle D'Amato also guessed Richard Nixon. Wow. So congratulations, and thank you everybody for all your likes. You guys are getting a lot of likes and loves, and everybody's really loving the conversation. So keep going. Keep going. Yes.
We're going to make it a little bit interesting right here. So
okay, let's
I'm a novice. I'm a novice wine drinker, and I'm going to go on my first wine tasting experience. Where would you send me, and what would you tell me to expect so I could prepare myself?
Gosh, Ralph, you keep going off script on me, and I prepare so hard for this. But this is an easy one. Let's see. Okay, here's a great one. If you're in Northern Virginia, you should really go to, well, there's so many places, but let me say this. Crushed Cellars in Percival. It's this tiny little winery on Route 9, and the owner, if you know something about wineries in Virginia, you've been there and you know what I'm talking about. The owner's name is Bob Kalek, and it is just the most, he welcomes you and he talks to you and he gives you free stuff like dips and chips and all this, and they sell fresh eggs, and he's just the kindest, the most wonderful guy. So if you're looking for a really nice, safe entry and you've never done it before, go to Crushed Cellars on Route 9. What to expect? I can't imagine anybody on the call hasn't done a wine tasting, but so you could say this just as well as I can, I'm sure. Actually, I should say it's very different now. Probably until we have an answer to what we're all dealing with, it's going to be a little different. Typically, you would go into the winery, you would go up to the bar, you would pay for a tasting, it would cost you $12, you would have 6 things to taste, or 7 things, or 10 things, and then you buy a glass, buy a bottle, go sit outside, have a great time. Now it's wineries are kind of struggling with how to do tastings in a hygienic way. And so in a lot of cases, what you'll get is you'll get a tray and there's 6 little plastic cups. Don't hold it against them. They don't want to serve their wine in plastic cups. And they take that tray outside and they'll have, written description of what the wine tastes like, and they'll taste through. And, it's great. I think wineries are learning a lot of different ways of conducting business as a result of COVID. It's certainly a little different than it was last year at this time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the world has changed a little bit, and we all have to adapt, but we're getting there. Let's get back to our favorites. Favorite place for evening dinner at a winery? Which ones?
Well, there's 2. I mean, there used to be more. Chateau Morisset has a wonderful restaurant, but they are closed during COVID. The 2 that do real dining, and I'm not talking about low end by any means, I'm talking about high end, 5-star, fabulous dining, are Barboursville Vineyards and their Palladio restaurant, and Veritas Vineyards. Both of those are down around Charlottesville. Veritas has a farmhouse, the farmhouse at Veritas, with, I think they have 6 lodging, 6 rooms or suites, which are also awesome. And then their dinner is fabulous because it's just there's old world quality to it, because you show up early, you sit outside on the patio, they give you a glass of champagne, everybody chats about their day, then they show you in and you have this multi-course meal, and it's really awesome. I wrote an article about it for Seaville Weekly, comparing them to the Inn at Little Washington.
Oh, wow.
Which I know, well, it sounds a little, really, but Inn at Little Washington had to start somewhere, right? They had to start somewhere, and I think Veritas, the farmhouse at Veritas, is doing everything right, and they're well on the way to getting there. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. How much do you want to talk about the grapes themselves in Virginia?
Well,
and the wine. Yeah.
Yeah, the grapes. I have this fun little list. Hold on, where is it?
Sure.
Okay. I have to read it because I swear I had never heard. Okay, here we go. So, grapes in Virginia. There are more than 70 grapes, and if you want to know what they are, you should go to Wine Trails and Wanderlust. It's a website, Wine Trails and Wanderlust, and that's Matthew Fitzsimmons, who is keeping that list together. He's been to all but 5 Virginia wineries, and he would have completed that if they didn't keep opening. They keep opening, so he keeps falling behind. But anyway, Wine Trails and Wanderlust, he maintains the list. And there's just so much fun experimentation going on. So here, I'm going to read 4 of these to you. I swear I had never heard of any of these, and I know I'm going to pronounce them incorrectly. Okay, so Barboursville is they're growing Falangina, there we go. Blenheim, which is right across the street from Trump Vineyards, they're doing Garganega. Granite Heights in Warrenton is doing Lagrine, and Muse is doing Tiroldigo. It looks like Terra Delgo, but it's Tiroldigo. So those 4 are all Italian grapes. So those are just 4 of the gazillions of things that wineries are experimenting with.
So you couple that with the Sangiovese and 3 or 4 more Italian grapes there. Is there a trend that they're trying to emulate some of the Italian vineyards, or is it just happenstance that they're doing that? What do you think?
That is a really interesting question to which I do not have an answer, because I did not even notice how many Italian varietals were being grown until I went and I looked at that list and tried to find some of the newer ones, and I just noticed that there's 4 Italian ones on there. So it's worth asking, are we getting away from French varietals and moving into Italian varieties, I should say. Varietal is used in a different way, varieties. Right? So I don't know. It's a good question.
I just want to know
Oh,
what the alcohol content is.
oh, okay, let me see. No more than 15. That's what they swear. No more than 15.
Oh,
Oh, you know what you want to know about, Ralph? So
yes.
for Italian wines, you want to go to Leo Grande. There we go. Leo Grande Winery, which is in the central part of the state, and it's in Leo. It's not Grand. It's Leo. It's somebody on the call should help me out. Le Grand, right? Le Grand Winery. Suddenly, it's flown out of my head. Um, it'll come back to me. The owner makes the wines, and you go up to what looks like a house, and you go into his house for the wine tasting, and he's always there every weekend pouring the wine that he's made. So he's got your Sangiovese and everything else.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good. So that's
Norman
good knowledge
Leo
for.
Grand. Sorry, it's Norman Leo Grand, and it's Leo Grand Winery. Okay, you may go.
So, when you did your 150 days, and you've probably done more since, but out of all the wineries, the one you walked in that you said, "Gosh, this one feels so much like me." Which one would that be?
Ooh, I wish it felt like me. The one I went into and went and made those noises was Hillsborough Vineyards in Hillsborough in Northern Virginia here. It's just I mean, it's this brick and stone building, this old building. They've got seating throughout the property. It's gardens everywhere. Again, it's another one of those where you sit and you've just got this gorgeous view in front of you. And they do they have interesting wines there. I think they're the only ones in the state that do, again, I'm going to mispronounce it, but Fair Cervado. And the winemaker there doesn't filter his reds, so it's a different kind of quality of the wine, different taste profile, and it's just, the whole thing is interesting. It's beautiful and it's interesting. So yeah, that's the one that always comes to mind for me.
Well, that's now as far as blends, and there's a lot of blends going on in each of the. I know, for example, Chrysalis there in Middleburg. Yeah, thank you. Always had a lot of blends, and they combined flavors and all that. Which would you recommend for the best blends, or or provide good blends? I don't know if it's the best, but blends that would be appealing to the most.
Susan, do you have that? It's one of, I think it's the last slide, maybe, if you could show that, yeah. And what this is going to show you is the 2020, the Governor's Cup is the most prestigious wine competition in Virginia. And this is a slide that shows you the top 12 winners. It's called the Governor's Case of the Governor's Cup. And I've indicated on there which are, what won. And so you can see the number of wineries on there that produce red blends that were very popular. Typically, it's, you're going to find King's Family Vineyard. Mathieu Finot is the winemaker, and that's down in Charlottesville. You're going to find, trying to think of some others, Keswick Vineyards is always going to do something like that.
Actually, there are six. There are 6 of the top 12. That are red blends. Yeah.
Yeah.
So half.
I don't
of
know
them.
if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can make out the labels, and I can't see it. Unfortunately,
There's Pollock. There's
Pollock in Charlottesville. Yep.
Octagon, Delaplane, Shenandoah.
Octagon from Barbersville and Delaplane. Yep. Mm-hmm.
868.
Yep. They won the overall 868, but that was with a Vidal Blanc Pasito. Yeah, 868 is in Northern Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the thing about the blends, though, Ralph, is, I think I'm no expert in this, but what I understand is that, in Virginia, again, because of the weather situation, very often it's difficult. It can be difficult to make a varietal if you had a bad year for a particular kind of grape. And so very often you're in a situation where you have to do a blend. You take some from one year, from another year, et cetera. And the blending is where the artistry is. If you have a really good year and a great growing season, from what I understand and what I'm told, you can make a great Cabernet Franc just because of all the work that's gone into it in the vineyard. It kind of makes itself. But to make a blend, that takes a different level of skill, and that I think is where a lot of Virginia winemakers are showing tremendous talent, and it's also what they love to do. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of them are known for that.
Yeah, the Cabernet Franc. I think I have a glass of that here too from Fabioli. So, in addition to the Sangiovese, I've got the Cabernet Franc, which
what do you think?
It's quite good, and so it's like we're having our own personal wine tasting.
That's right.
But I think you're right, because I remember vividly going to the wineries that Cabernet Franc was always pretty prevalent in most of them.
Yeah. So a lot of people think Cabernet Franc should be Virginia's grape. Actually, it's it grows well here. It's kind of unusual, not terribly unusual, but if there were a grape for Virginia, a lot of people think that Cabernet Franc would be the grape.
That would be good for Virginia. Mm-hmm. So, what would you tell the viewers? How would they, to get more information? What should they do? Which websites? Which magazines or groups? Facebook groups? How could they get more information about the Virginia wines to make their experience better?
We have a slide for that, so I'll put that up so people can take a photo of it or jot it down or something. But something that's working really well is when COVID started and the wineries had to close down for a while, I started a Facebook group called Support Virginia Wineries During COVID, and that has really taken off. And I rarely have to do anything in the way of administration. It just, it runs itself. And so you can toss up a question there and very specific and say, I'm going with my children and my mother-in-law to this area, and I want to know about a winery where I can sit outside and et cetera, et cetera. Ask the question, and you'll get 15 people who have an answer for you within 15 minutes. So that's a really great resource. Another is there are a number of wine bloggers out there that have been doing this for years, and they tell it like it is, and they're wonderful. Virginia Wine Time, Wine About Virginia, Wine Trails and Wanderlust, I already mentioned. Drinkwhatyoulike.com by Frank Morgan. So they're, those, and Virginia.org or VirginiaWine.org, is the official website for Virginia Wine Country. And of course, there's my website, VirginiaWineInMyPocket.com, my app, which you can download for free from iTunes or Google Play, and then there's that book too, that Virginia Wine Travel Journal that you can get on Amazon or Shopify.
Wow, that's good. Now, personally, do you have any intention on expanding to, my wine pocket Maryland, my wine pocket the Delmarva Peninsula?
Not on your life. No. Trying to keep up with Virginia is a true labor of love, and I love every minute of it, and I'm not going anywhere else, that's for sure. I am writing a novel, though. It's based in Virginia wine country, so that should, hopefully that'll be out next year sometime, and maybe I'll come back.
Sure, absolutely. When you update it, we'll have you back. Let's have Susan come back on the screen, and let's see which
there we go.
wines we have right now that we're tasting.
And yes, I believe I have a red here. I'm sorry, I don't know the blend, but I believe it's from Purcellville. It's the Maggie Malik. And
wow.
That vineyard's in Purcellville, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Correct.
It's delicious.
And that's the one in the cave.
That's right.
Anyway,
That's right.
So cheers to you guys. Great.
Cheers to
and
you,
cheers
Ralph.
to our
Thank
viewers and for being patient through our little technical difficulty, but it was
What
a great
technical
show.
difficulty?
That's right.
I have no idea.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for all of the information and for your
Nancy.
wonderful humor. What a wonderful show. Super eye-opening, informative, very helpful for anybody who wants to take a wine trip around here. So it's time to give Virginia wines a fresh new look. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And Ralph,
Thank you.
another wonderful show. And viewers, thank you so much. We have over 90 likes, a dozen loves. So people really loved this conversation. So Nancy, you'll have to come back.
I will. I will.
And in 2 weeks, our guest will be Martha Carucci. She's written a couple of books, Sober Teas and Sober Teas 2. And they're very touching. And she's going to be another terrific guest for us.
Definitely. Okay, well that's great. Well, good night, Ralph and Nancy. We're gonna go to the sign off right here. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in, and tune in tomorrow night. We have a doubleheader tomorrow night. I have the pleasure of interviewing Deb Olschlager and Sharon Timmons of the Swing for Pink cancer fundraiser for breast cancer. And then after that, I'm interviewing Mike and Nate. I don't know if you saw my story in the Zebra Press a month or two ago. They have been hiking the Appalachian Trail. They graduated high school in June, and 3 days later, they stepped on the trail and they've finished half of it. They're home for a couple of days, and they're about to do the other half. They're hiking the entire thing, but they're making time for us to come tomorrow night. So it should be a really great conversation. They're two great, great young men. Then Thursday night, it's the Virginia Amos Show with Melanie Runyon from Truly Life, a Delray-based urban garden. So that's going to be another great show. So lots to look forward to this week. And until we see you again, remember to be kind and, as much as you can, to please be the good news in someone's life.